The Diesel Performance Podcast contains explicit language.
Thank you for joining us again. This is Paul Wilson.
And Chris Emke.
You're listening to the Diesel Performance Podcast. We're going to kick it off right away. Exergy do's and don'ts. Chris, what is your Exergy do or don't this week?
You know, anytime I get a customer or anyone inquiring about, a high-end build, high horsepower build, or even a stock build, quality parts. So I would say if you're looking to build your truck for the long haul, use their injectors and use their pumps.
I love it. I love it a lot. That's really, really good advice. If you're looking to do any sort of a build, fuel system components are expensive. Don't go buy cheap shit and have to redo it twice. We've seen that happen too many times.
Yep.
Definitely go for the Exergy components. They're going to cost you more than the knockoff cheap Chinese O'Reilly's crap, but they're actually going to work the way they're intended to.
O'Reilly's is great.
I love it. All right. I would say the Exergy don't for this week is going to be the same one we had, I think, a few weeks ago, Chris, and I think it was just so good I wanted to repeat it, and that's don't run two-stroke oil in your LB7 to get rid of the haze at idle.
Oh, yeah. Been there, done that. Don't buy a truck from me. No, but seriously, that is a good one. Sorry, I just had to.
Fucking Chris.
Oh, man.
It's so funny because it's true. All right, we are talking about the 2018 Ultimate Callout Challenge. We have back with us James and Chris from the UCC. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Not a problem. We're really appreciative for you guys to take some time out of this long trip, stop in the shop here. We walked around and checked out a bit of the building. What did you guys like to see over here at Duramax Tuner in the shop?
Oh, it's an amazing facility, and to see how many turbos you guys can kick out day after day is really impressive.
I think I was most impressed with how far along your UCC build was.
Yeah, that was real fucking funny, wasn't it? That was real fucking funny. We have a fucking comedian here. Yeah.
I loved all the turbos on the pallet next to it. That was awesome.
So you see we're organized.
Yes, yeah. Like the triplets.
I want to say we got the truck back at our shop on like the 8th or 9th, right? When was UCC last year?
Yeah, right around there.
Okay. It's sat there ever since. So
we took the truck. So for those who don't know, Calibrated Power put together this really awesome Cummins build. Chris, tell them a little bit about the build.
It's a Cummins. It's a big block Cummins. It's a semi-engine and a pickup truck. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
3 S500s. No big deal.
No big deal.
Well, it was a big deal. The rods didn't like it.
Right.
So what happened 2 days before?
Yeah, it put a rod through the block.
A couple of them, motherfucker.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Hanging, just chilling there. They decided that's where they'd rather be. So we hauled the truck to the UCC. We parked it down at the Alligator booth. A lot of fans, which we were really appreciative of, came over, asked Jim Rennet a million questions about it.
Superstar.
And wasted all of his day. It was amazing. I loved it.
Yep.
And then we brought the truck back. We tore the engine out of it. And we set all the parts on a pallet next to it or in the bed, and we are just waiting for that next step of doing something.
The next step. What is the next step, Paul?
We're gonna wrap up the next step and say it's finishing the build.
Yeah, so
that's the whole next step.
2016 we planned on coming, never made it. 2017 planned on coming, the truck didn't want to make it. So third year's a charm.
Yeah, we're doing it this year.
I believe it.
We're gonna go hang out and watch this thing compete.
Hopefully.
But
enough about that.
Enough about our truck. We want our listeners to find out more about UCC. Maybe you didn't listen to us last year. Maybe you're living under a rock. We don't know, but we do know that this is fucking it for diesel. Like, this is the biggest event of the year.
This is the Super Bowl.
I have the biggest and smallest swinging dick in the industries right here.
Oh, wow.
Who wants to tell me what the hell is the Ultimate Callout Challenge? I almost said Diesel Performance Industry Expo, but I meant the Ultimate Callout Challenge.
The Ultimate Callout Challenge, what we did a couple years ago is we run the Northwest Dyno Circuit too. So as we were doing events back east and you had the Dimitri and Industrial, or out west, sorry, Dimitri and Industrial competing in the dyno circuit, just really starting to make big numbers. Here back east, people were saying the dyno's numbers were inflated because of elevation and correction factor and that sort of thing. So as a byproduct of that, we decided to reach out to a couple competitors, whether it was Industrial or around where we were back west, and then a couple of the bigger guys back east, and really just got a couple of them and said, hey, if we put this event together, is it something you guys would be interested in? You know, that way we could have, the Ryan Millikens, the Derek Rose, the Levons, Industrial with Baca and Industrial's truck and Dimitri and all in the dyno at the same time. And then there's no correction factor, that'll all be thrown out the door once we get that done. And we did that. The cool thing was the first day of the dyno, we actually stuck, I believe it was Firepunk's tow truck up on the dyno, and it was the first time we got the brand new Superflow dyno. Yeah. Just had a nice, really big one built, biggest loads, biggest eddy currents they could put on it, widest rollers, the biggest thing they could make because we knew we'd be handling power. So we put them up on there, and I believe we were within about 20 horsepower what they were making back home or something really close. I mean, you're talking not even 1%.
Yeah.
And that was with the correction factor because we're almost 5,000 feet above sea level back there. So that really was nice to be able to – and don't get me wrong, you can cheat a dyno by messing with correction factors. You guys know that, I'm sure, from here. It's easy to manipulate, but if they're done right and the person running it's not adjusting anything, they're designed – that's what that correction factor is you're not at sea level, you're 5,000 feet above sea level with this air density. This is what your power would have made.
Right.
So, and that was cool to see that we were able to do that. Plus, these competitors came out swinging like crazy. And you had the first couple just, 2,000 horsepower across the board. So that, which everybody in the industry was trying to be that first one to that 2,000 horsepower. So it was really cool to see those guys come out and really put on the show for the attendees.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the one thing guys forget often about a dyno is it's not a ruler as far as a measuring tool goes. It's a comparison. Right, so it's not like one ruler is always the same. It's to say that we can get it pretty close, like you said. We can look no matter what dyno you're on. We should be able to run the same test and get the same result, regardless of elevation and things like that, because you should be able to adjust for it. Correct. So really, the Ultimate Callout Challenge kind of came out to settle some disputes, is my initial understanding. That's really the history behind it.
Yep, it was dyno numbers. What they were seeing on the Northwest Dyno Circuit back west, many thought were inflated numbers, but once you got them all there. Those numbers that Industrial and those guys were putting down were just big numbers.
They were just a lot of fucking power. It didn't matter where they were.
Yeah. It changes over the last 3 years from power when everybody was trying to hit 2,000 to now, 2,700. It's just crazy.
I mean, fuck, man.
What these competitors are doing.
4 or 5 years ago, it was 1,000 horse.
Yeah.
1,000,
that was
1,200
a big
horse.
thing. Yeah, 1,200 horse.
Literally overnight, 2,000 horsepower. Now we're almost eclipsing maybe 3,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible.
Oh, yeah.
Is somebody going to do it this year, do you think?
Oh, that's just a ton. I mean, that's a
ton. A loaded fucking question.
We asked everyone last year.
I think it'll be close. I think if there weren't a few, they would have been closer, I think, this year. You just had people going out of the box and trying something new with what, Levon tried to do, and then Industrial, I think, had some tranny issues. But there's some guys that are really right there. Yeah. I mean, I think they could be really close, honestly.
I mean, I think if somebody can keep it together, they know how to make the power.
Yes, I think they can make the power. It's trying to. I think it's become more. They know you've got to survive all 3 days though too. So, are you really going to go out and throw everything at it if you don't need to?
Well, this is what we're seeing. We're seeing a change in competition. The Ultimate Callout Challenge. I think year one, everybody's thought was just make a lot of power and show up and give it everything you can at every event, and you're gonna do well. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that was true or not, right? I really don't. Year two, we started to hear a lot of guys talk about strategy. I had the pleasure of interviewing quite a few competitors before and even a few after the event. A lot of guys had the idea of kind of closer to Diesel Power Challenge, where they're like, I need to make it through all of the events. I need to stay together. That's what a lot of guys, I would say, told us last year. I'm kind of interested to see what the plan is, because even a lot of the guys who said, my only plan is to stay together and compete in all three, everybody who did that did well. They ranked in a very nice place. They were happy with how they walked away from the event. However, none of them won it. Right? No. To be honest with you, none of them won it. And let's be real, it's a competition. It's the biggest competition of the year. You got to want to win this, and that's what I think is really exciting. It is, as you had mentioned, though, it's an evolving industry. It's an evolving sport. It's an evolving event to where we're seeing changes come up every year. And that's really, really interesting to me. So we all know that this is a drag race, sled pull, and dyno event. You'll compete in all three. There is some mathematical equation. There's an algorithm, if you will, that will assign points based on where kind of everybody did. So it's graded basically on a bell curve if you've been in school recently.
You're lost.
I'm out.
But basically, if you do really, really well in one event and everybody else does poorly, you get a lot of points, a lot more points than everybody else, right? If everybody groups up in the middle, everybody will have a similar amount of points assigned, is the most general way I could describe that. But it's not your normal drag race event where there's a 12-0 index or there's, an ET class or there's a bracket on it. It's literally just go as fast as you fucking can, right?
Yep. But we give them as much time as possible. So at most of your drag races, you get called up, whether it's in your class or not. Hey, you've got to be here. You got to go. Well, we're trying to give these competitors all day. So they're going out making a test hit. They want to adjust this. It gives them time to do what changes they need to do because we want them to run their best time. That's why it's up to them if they want to run heads up against another competitor. And I think you'll see maybe a little more of that this coming year, which would be really cool to see some of those guys.
Yeah.
But it still gives them time to go back in their pit, make the changes they see they need to do for the chassis, depending on what this track does versus where they're back at home to really help them be able to deliver for all of us the best product they can, let them run as fast as they can.
Well, that's one of the things that's really interesting to me is that they get to make multiple hits. And like you would think like, oh, man, what a great opportunity to dial in and have your best possible run be the one that counts. Because it doesn't matter if they try it once or if they try it 100 times.
Yep.
It's literally just the best one on record.
Yep.
Right? There's also that thing of like we were just talking about, like hot lapping your truck all fucking day, 12 hours of hot lapping it. When do you call it quits? Like who's going to be the guy that's out there that's trying to shave 100th off of his time and ends up smoking it, And we saw that last year where we saw people have catastrophic failures on day one. Is drag racing still the first day?
Yeah, drag racing is still. It'll be the same format. So you have drag racing the first day for the UCC guys. The dyno will be the second day for the UCC guys, and then it'll finish up with the sled pull.
I love it.
That's awesome.
And we got big news about the sled pull. This year, the sled pull will be put into the circle track, so there'll be a lot more room for the fans to watch it, the stadium and stuff like that, rather than out where it was last year. If you came out and we brought in all those bleachers last year.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. That was us. We brought them in, and we thought, well, we'll bring in enough bleachers to sit 8,000 people. That should be plenty.
No.
It wasn't. So,
It's a good problem.
It was a good problem. But we do have it out in the circle track, which makes it nice. The nice part with the UCC and for the fans is where you do have them running all day. They can watch them run. They can go to the expo. Everything is just right there. There's so much to do with the competition going on from all day long.
Absolutely. Well, that's one of the other big changes this year, and we're going to circle back to talk about some of the rule changes here. But there's also this qualifiers thing that's going on throughout the entire event. Can you fill us in a little bit about the qualifiers?
Yeah, what we wanted to do is give more people a chance to be able to compete in 2019. It becomes real hard. I mean, how do you sit there and pick certain people can or can't compete? I mean, there's a lot of people that are qualified, and there's a ton we don't know about.
Right.
So this way, what our thought is so the top 10 from next year will automatically be in 2019. They'll have their spot. And so we're going to try to set up a few qualifiers. The first one will be at the UCC this year, that the top 5 will then qualify for next year. They'll have their spot too. So between a couple of those qualifiers and the top 10, it'll still leave us a few 5 or 10 spots that we can plug in with, say, someone we know just had a catastrophic failure and didn't finish, but they want to again. We can plug them back in. So that way it helps keep that level of competition just up there for the fans attending it.
Well, I really like this idea. So basically what you're saying is if I'm an amateur, I'm not a shop owner, but I got a badass build, or maybe I'm a smaller shop owner and I'm not known nationally, or I don't go out to a lot of nationally ranked or national focused competitions, you guys might not know about me. I might not have gotten in the past, because I think when we first interviewed you, it was, for lack of a better term, it was very subjective. It was pretty much like, hey, we know him and we like him. Sure. Like, you can do it.
You can do it. And then what happened is we just get called, hey, I want to do this. Hey, I think I should. And yeah, we want it to be a call out. We wanted to pick those guys, but it becomes a point where we don't get to see everybody, so we don't know.
Right.
We aren't able to judge everything out there, but we want everybody to, if they think they can compete, to be able to have that chance. And that's what the qualifier will do is they get to put up against the other 50 guys that think they have a chance, and those top 5 will move on to 2019.
Well, and it goes back to, like you said, if you, maybe the amateur or you're, excuse me, in a small shop and you're trying to get your name out there and you've got a badass truck that you're ready to run, a UCC qualifier is $500 to get a chance to be on the biggest stage in the diesel motorsports industry.
Oh, yeah.
There's no better way to make a name for yourself. And the whole purpose of the UCC and the DPI Expo is to grow the industry, to make innovation happen and give opportunities. And that's what I think the qualifier does.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's quickly becoming the profession of diesel. Like this is the way to make this sport a professionalized sport, because we do have things like we have some sort of basic rules around who can be in and who can't. We have a way to get in. We have a way to grow into it. Mm-hmm. And we also now are starting to have a huge purse that I'm hearing about. Can you tell me a little bit about how the payout structure works?
Yeah, so well, I can kind of give you a brief overview of what we're doing. So this year, we'll have our purse will be up to $190,000 in payouts. We do this because we realize that the competitors are part of the reason the people are coming to see this. They are the athletes.
The big reason they're coming to see this.
The big reason, yeah. They are the athletes that they're coming out to see. So we're doing a couple different things. Obviously, we have the big purses for winning the dyno, the drags, the sled pull, and then the overall. But in addition to that, we have a minimum.
Yeah, we have a scaled. What we did is you have some guys that this will be their first year.
Right.
So we're setting up, hey, if you dyno X amount of horsepower, you hit this time drag racing and pull this far, you're guaranteed this money anyway. So it helps them have something they can get anyways, even if it didn't put them into the big payouts. But what we did is if it's their second year, we're going to times that total by 2. So it's going to then reward those guys that, the Fire Punks, the Derek Rose, the Donovan with Armor Inc. and Lenny, those guys that are investing their time into coming to this event, that it times it for them in the back run. So the more they do it, the bigger that payout can be guaranteed each time for them.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Now there's some real drive to get the competitors there and to keep them coming back, right? Because we've all talked about the economics of this, and to be honest with you, no matter how big, even if you got the biggest payout and you won everything and you won all of the overall and like you maxed out your payouts at this event, it probably still doesn't cover the cost of the truck.
Oh, no. And that's where it's nice where I've had a shop in the background. We built those trucks too. So I totally know what they go through. So that's why we know, we've had people made comments when they saw what the winning check was, which was $20,000, but that was only part of the purse that Levon won. But I know it doesn't pay for that truck, not even close to it. But I do know that at least, I think he was close to 35, over 35, I think total is what he walked away with. But that's more than a lot of the drag racing or any of the sled stuff will do for years if you went to it, So at least, and a lot of these guys are building a truck for their shop anyways, but we want to recognize that we know they're investing their time into that truck and money-wise and even time away from family. So we're trying to, it would be really cool if we could keep evolving this performance industry to where it can pay out even more to benefit those guys that are sacrificing those times. So maybe it can turn into, 10 years from now, it's like a NASCAR, where those guys are sponsored and they're getting the money just to go compete, which people look at the competition, but that helps innovate and drive our industry that makes better product for the everyday guy. That stuff will slowly work its way back down. These manufacturers have to make better product to handle the power these guys are making, so they're making better products for even the end guy to end up using in the industry. So that's something we would hope it grows to. That's why we really try to include our competitors in things. Winning's one thing and the payouts and the times, but we do other things for them that we're going to start this year too, that if you're going to support your guy that's been called out, your shop, your competitor, that starting in January, they're going to have codes to get you a discount on your ticket to attend the UCC. So if you go and use that ticket, that's going to support those guys because we're going to do something on the back end for all those tickets that they're help pushing people to come to the event too. So they're going to get a piece of that. So those competitors you want to support, it, in January, you're going to see a coupon from them. You can go out and get on those. As long as the competitors share it, you'll be able to go and use it and get your tickets at a discount.
That's so cool. I love that. All right, and then also, let's just talk about ticket sales in general. You guys are projecting a little bit more growth this year over last year. Can I say that's a correct assumption?
Yeah, we're looking at a little bit bigger crowd, which we're excited for. I mean, I can't say we're not. So first 3 months, our sales are up 200% over last year in ticket sales,
shit.
and we're 7 months still out, or 6 months still out. So yeah, there's a lot of excitement around it.
Is there a capacity? Is there only so many tickets you can sell?
No.
Nope.
Lucas Oil Raceway can fit something they hold NHRA Nationals there, so it's way more than we'll probably ever get there. I think they said they can sit, at least in the main stadium, something like 60,000 people, 80,000. It was crazy. I remember asking Mike from Lucas Oil Raceway, how many can you fit? And it was some huge amount, so we're not worried. At least at the drag strip, there'd have to be some work in the circle track because I think it holds like 15,000 people, but
yeah,
we should be right there. They have some overflow stuff they can do for us too, but as of right now, it's the only place. We shouldn't outgrow it, hopefully, for a little bit.
No, and while we're on it, thank you to our fans and competitors. Lucas Oil Raceway let us know that we were the second largest event they held this year after Nationals.
That
we
is
were
so
number
cool.
2, and that
Wow.
that's thanks to the competitors and the fans and the industry in general. So
Sponsors.
yes,
and,
just everyone. So thank you to all them while we're here.
Absolutely. There have been some rule changes since last year. As long as we're talking about things from last year to this year, let's dive into it. So I know one of the things I had heard a few guys talk about is leaving the show to work on the truck. So the truck comes in Thursday, Friday, whatever day they show up there, and then Saturday, Friday night they have a problem. So Saturday or Friday night they haul the truck to a local shop, they work on it, and they bring it back.
Yeah, that's what's happened in the last couple of years.
Surprisingly upset about this.
Yeah, they were, in which it does create an unfair advantage for those shops that are close here, which we totally understand. And we've tried to really keep the rules. I mean, it is, and we get reminded on social media, it's supposed to be the ultimate call-out challenge. We get that. So we try to keep the rules safety-wise and just competition-wise. Those are the rules we're going to try to base everything around. And what we did this time, too, is we got with the top 10. So we know you're coming back. So the top 10 that are coming back, okay, what rules do you guys think we need to change? What do you suggest we change? And then we just let all those top 10 in one email. They get a vote. So everybody gets to see who said what and how it goes. So that was one of the ones they wanted. They wanted all the repairs to have to be done on site.
I love that.
Which is like a NASCAR. You can put a new motor in it if you blow a motor, but it's got to be done there. You can put a new tranny in it, but it's got to be done there. So that was a pretty simple rule that almost all of them wanted to do.
That's so cool. I mean, I do see that because, and the other thing there was I had talked a lot about watching different competitors work on their trucks at the event. So walking back to XDP, who 3 guys yelling, sawzalls running, wrenches flying. They were they were at a mad dash, but every booth that had a problem was like that. Even Levon at one point wrapped up a divider around his stuff so his guys could just work on the truck. But everybody who competed that had issues had to go back into the pit, and they were tearing stuff apart, and fans were able to walk up and actually maybe not participate, but actually see what really goes into this, because it is painstaking to put all of that work into a truck and then get there to the event and lose a turbo.
Yeah.
Or something, or trans or whatever else, right? We saw a million transes go. It was heartbreaking to see that happen. So to know that now fans are going to get to actually see some of these repairs go on, or be able to actually talk to these guys and put everybody on that same playing field to where it is much more honest competition at that point.
Well, and we've been asked too, and it's where do you, by still keeping it as the ultimate call-out challenge, where do you place those rules? So is it one motor? Well, what's the difference between one motor and one tranny? Mm-hmm. Or a rear end blows up on someone. So that until the top 10 says, hey, we want it to be just one motor, it's just going to stay the way it is, because you just have, unfortunately, some things happen. But like you say, a guy doesn't want to work all through the winter to then, say he lifts ahead. So where's the limitation on what's considered a motor? Is it just replacing the head gasket, or, just pulling the head off? It's trying to find where we limit those rules too. So as of now, it's long as they can fix it at the racetrack, then anything goes, which they want to put on a show. Like you said, they've spent all winter. They don't want to come and have one run and the tranny blows and now he's done. That sucks for him, and it sucks for the attendees.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this way, as long as they're willing to, to go in and fix it, they get to do it.
I'm pretty sure if we would have had the one tranny, one motor last year by the sled pulls, you would have seen 2 trucks pull.
That's what I was just going to say.
There would have been 2 trucks pulling, and one was the test truck for the sled. So I hope you enjoyed that. So,
no, it is. I mean, I think it brings up something that maybe a lot of us don't like to hear, which is that this competition is not about a purpose-built truck. It's not about who has the best sled pull truck or who has the fastest drag race truck or who's going to make the most on the dyno. It's about all three. It's about having a truck. And realistically, everybody we've talked to, it's about having a team that can keep that truck together for 3 days.
Team's
and they are
the big
3
thing.
grueling fucking days.
Yeah, it's definitely a team. And like Fire Punk and the Derek Roses and Armor Inc., those guys that are finishing towards, it's a team. For sure it's a team. They've got great teams that help them do that.
Yeah.
well, we had, even after our wrap-up video, we had a great video where we interviewed some of the drivers. I can't remember. Often it said, it's tough on the trucks, it's tough on the people. I mean, that's
Snyder.
It was at Snyder. Yeah, it was Snyder. It'd say, it's tough on the trucks, it's tough on the people. I mean, it's one and the same, but it's fun. It's just a good time.
Well, that's it. I don't think there's a better way to wrap it up.
No.
Oh, Chris is here.
Well, it's like weird, these interviews, because I wasn't here last year. I wasn't there last year, so I'm trying to get that feel.
Yeah, you're really just listening, just soaking this in.
Everything. I feel like I was there, so fuck y'all.
I thought you had one year just dozing off over there.
Right.
It's like almost time to go home.
Chris, you will be going this year because Diesel Performance Podcast, we are the official podcast of the Ultimate Callout Challenge.
We are the dick swingers there for the media.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we appreciate you guys too.
We appreciate you wanting us.
All the help in interviewing the competitors, and I think you guys are going to reach out to some of the competitors, qualifiers. We appreciate that. That's more people that know, the better exposure we all get.
And I think we're just excited that you guys are podcasting, not video, after being in the same room with you. I think that's huge for us, especially you, Chris. Right there, buddy.
It's like the 8th guest to say that to you, man.
You have a face for radio, buddy.
On that note,
guys, we are available on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Please subscribe. I want to say that again. Please subscribe so you can get every single episode. We are going to be making a mad dash for events in the next coming 2 to 4 months. Yeah. We'll be interviewing competitors. We'll be interviewing vendors. We'll be interviewing qualifiers. We'll be interviewing KJ Jones from Diesel Power Challenge. We'll be interviewing Rick from Exergy and all sorts of other stuff. So please make sure you subscribe. If you want to rate and review us as well, that'd be great. We also, after doing the episode just a few weeks ago here, catching up on all of our Facebook inquiries and responses. Chris is doing a much better job of staying on top of those.
Haven't touched it.
So hopefully we won't have to do an episode again in 4 months where we have to condense all those together again. If you haven't heard it, that was probably now one of my new favorites. That was a great episode,
That was
Chris.
a lot of fun.
It was a blast. We are excited to see everybody out in Indianapolis. I'm sorry, that's actually, what's the city?
Brownsburg.
Just outside Brownsburg, yeah.
Just outside of Brownsburg, Indiana. May 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Yes, sir.
Look at that. I'm going, and now I know the dates. It's amazing.
I'm surprised.
This has been Paul Wilson.
Chris Emke.
James.
Chris Searle.
Thanks for listening.
Calibrated Power Solutions, the leading North American developer of clean diesel power and home of DuramaxTuner.com, is the proud sponsor of the Diesel Performance Podcast. Calibrated Power develops emissions-equipped calibrations for a wide variety of diesel powertrains, including the Duramax, Cummins, Jeep, John Deere, and many more. For more information and the best customer service in the industry, check out calibratedpower.com or call 815-568-7920. That's 815-568-7920. If you'd like to contact the Diesel Performance Podcast, send us a message through Facebook or email Paul at DuramaxTuner.com or Chris at CEHMKE at DuramaxTuner.com. You could also reach him by phone. Chris's extension is 2121, Paul's is 2122.
And that's don't run two-stroke oil in your LB7 to get rid of the haze at idle.
Oh, yeah. Been there, done that. Don't buy a truck from me. No, but seriously, that is a good one. Sorry, I just had to.
Fucking Chris.
Oh, man.
It's so funny because it's true.